Hello everyone, and this is a video guide for this template which is $5, but if you want to make from scratch, all the individual videos for each section are available in description. And this is what you get in the template. You could actually go and click on live demo to see it, but this video is a guide for people who have brought this template. And again, like I said, every section has a video tutorial on how to make it from scratch if you don't want to buy it. So this is the first section. We got a header. This is not just, but if I refresh, let me first show you the preloader. So these are just two images, and one of it is it's just revealing on top of the another one. It's pretty easy to replace it. And again, I also have like I think 10 preloaders which you could actually download from my other products, where if you want to have more preloaders, you could go and get it. So the next section is this header. So if I scroll down, it gets smaller. You could see I'm also in incognito so that this Elementor admin bar does not show, or WordPress admin bar. And you could see it gets smaller. The color also changes around here. And you can replace anything. It doesn't have to be this. And if you click on it, it opens a menu. Also, I have another template which is like 12 animated menu templates. So you could also replace this with those template if you purchase that one. But this is what's available in this template. If I scroll down, this is just a simple hero page. If I scroll down, you could see we got some images which move. As I scroll up and down, kind of gives like a nice parallax movement. If I scroll down, this is the section that is there. And one thing is this effect. I've already created a video on how to make this section. And again, this is the zoom effect. I also created a video on how to make this section. So if you want to make from scratch, you can watch this. And if you don't want to, then again, purchase the template. And here's how it is going to look. This is also created a video tutorial for it if you want to make from scratch. These two are same. And then we got this stacking card effect. It comes from bottom. Also video is available if you want to make from scratch. Then this is a vertical accordion that if you click, it opens like this. And another thing is I will be creating a video on how to make this from scratch. So if you don't want to buy the template, you could use that. Then we got this golem environment. I should actually enable looping for this video. It's not looping, which is why it's showing the what you call the YouTube recommendations. So if I go down, you could see it gets overlappy and sticky. So this one is now sticky on top. And as I scroll down, it gets sticky. Then the next part gets on top like this. I also have a video called overlapping containers, which you could watch if you want to make from scratch. And then this is the footer. So with this template, you get one header, one this animated. So this is two stuff. Then third section, then the fourth design, then the fifth effect like this, then the sixth effect, then the seventh effect, the eighth effect, this is the ninth effect, and that's all. And actually the preloader too. So if you include the preloader, there are 10 effects. And then if you want to if you want to consider this too, then this is 11th block, I guess, a section. And then this is 12th block like this. So 10 animated stuff and then 2 block designs. Pretty cool, right? And actually I would suggest to actually mix and match the templates. So maybe you just use, let's say, this part and then use this part in different page or in another section. Just try to mix and match so that your website is unique. So once you have imported the template, it will take a long time to import because there's like lots of containers and all. This is the page that you will be getting in the editor. And the way to edit this is simply by hiding the preloader, because this is the preloader that gets shown. And if I go into this, you could see I have a logo, which is the black colored logo, and I have a orange colored logo. If I go to advanced, you could see I've set it to 150 pixels. It's simply because we need to have both of the same size, else it does not work well. And the logo too also has the same settings, absolute, so that they are on top of each other. I also have a heading in here, which is the counter. If you want, you could make it, let's say, darker and all. This is shown as a counter 0 to 100. And this is the code for all that stuff. Now one thing is, let's say you only want to use the preloader and you don't want to use anything else. Make sure to copy the GSAP CDN2. Okay, this one is the initialization of GSAP because we are using GSAP. Make sure this is pasted on top so that anything below this is working, any code below this is working. So this is the initializing codes, base codes, and this is what puts the GSAP script on your landing page. If you want, you could add it to your whole website, but I prefer to do it in like the particular page that I'm using, which is why it's added via this one. And anything below this code would be using this scripts. So make sure to add this, else it would not work. Okay, this is already available in this page, but if you are using, let's say, this section to another section or another page, landing page, make sure the initialization is there. So let's hide this. Again, if you don't know how to get this, then simply click on structure and it will open, or I think you can also click here. This section is like straightforward, so I'm not going to explain how to edit this. This is just basic Elementor. You could even see like everything else is like very basic stuff. All of these are Elementor widgets and nothing else. This is also Elementor widgets with using grid. So in case in your website the grid is not enabled by default, go to your dashboard, go to Elementor settings, go to features, and if you go down, you could see that by default it is using containers. It should be active. Okay, so by default it should be active, and if you are probably using like older version, it probably didn't activate it by default. So make sure it is active, and then make sure nested elements is active too. If this is green, then it is activated by default. In the newer versions, it is activated by default. Now this is the section which is this effect. If you click on this one, let's select, where did it go? So this container is the second section. Let's open this. Let me click around here. This is the HTML widget. If you click, it can show this one and basically hide it so that you could see the actual design. If you click on something like this, you would see it has been given DMIMG1. It has been given like 15% in size, and if I go to transform, it has been given offset of 20% from top, just to give it like an this top down zigzag pattern, nothing crazy. And this is like DMIMG2, DMIMG3, and DMIMG4. So if I go to my HTML, which has the code, again one annoying thing is if something is disabled and if you click on it, let's say if I'm holding right now around here, okay, so it will scroll right now, but if I click on something that is like disabled, it takes us to the top part. Kinda annoying, but again if I want to edit something, then I need to click here, right? Now if you look in the code, you would see that for IMG1 we are basically making it go from y minus 50. So this one would basically go below. So you can see that anything that you give DMIMG1 would basically go below. Anything that you give like DMIMG2 would go up. So again, if you have multiple images and you give all of them DMIMG1 CSS class by going into advanced and giving it, it will basically do this effect. Okay, so y minus 50. Same with all of this. You could see for IMG3 I've done y minus 50. This one for I've done y50. You could change this to x and it will go left to right. If you want to change some values like how crazy the effect should be, then you could do around here. Scrub one basically makes it smoother. Instead of having like weird effect, it makes it smoother. And that's simply just how you could change the value of the effect around here. And you could obviously change the way this looks. You could make it go up, down, wherever you want. Just make sure to give it DMIMG1, DMIMG2, or basically change these values to your own liking. Now the second effect, here's one issue. Sometimes it works in this editor, sometimes it does not. I think I have to refresh to check. I'll refresh once to see if the effect works in the editor. So I just refreshed the page and again it is not working. So in the live page it would work, but sometimes in the editor it works, sometimes in the editor it does not. I don't know why, how it's like decided if it will work or not in the editor. But here's what we need to do. Okay, so for the zoom reveal one, which is this container, if I click on this, I have some code in here and I have some images in here. All you simply need to do is change the image to your own one and go into advanced, and you could see that if I bring this, it is around here. So I'm basically making it go outside this container, and this basically does the effect automatically. You just need to just decide where it should come from. So right now it is around here, so it will come from here, from the to the middle. Also, if you look in the effect, one of it is bigger, which is this one, and it has also this border kind of effect. It is your choice whether you want to do this or not, but this is the last image. Again, all of them have been given like same CSS class, and this one has been given like padding and then 220 pixels with a background of white, simply to get this effect. Again, nothing crazy. And what I've simply done is made this a bit bigger than the other images, which are 130, right? So the last image is just bigger, so that in the end it covers everything, and rest of it is just going into this advanced and then choosing like where is it basically. Let's see. Okay, yeah, you could see it came from here. So if I move this to be up like this outside this container, it will come from up to down like this. And the best part is you don't have to use image, you could use anything that you want. Just make sure to give it position absolute, make this to be percentage, like left and top. Okay, do not use right and bottom. Left and top, give them percentage, and give them this CSS class. As long as you do that, as long as you give this CSS class, it would work. And as long as you give it position absolute, left and top, it would work. Whether it's an image, you could have like a whole container in here, or any other widget. Again, just a quick check in the code, you could see that this is how it looks. Also, I'm scaling it a bit by 1.2. So as it comes closer, it is getting bigger. So that kind of gives like a small variation. So again, that's all. And basically making the text go small to 0. So if you remove this, the text would not be getting smaller like this. And the amount it takes to scroll to actually reach till end is decided by this one, which is end plus 300. So this is basically saying that 3 times of this container size you have to scroll to actually reach till the end. If you make this to be 500, then it would take more scroll. If you make this to be 100, it would be like very less. The next section is this one, which is DM zoom reveal 2, which if I scroll down, reveals this images like this. Now you could see there's a container called background, and if I hide this, the color basically goes out. So this gray color that I've given. Just the thing, when I did this at the first time, when I created this, whenever I added this background in the zoom reveal, it just didn't work. So what happened was, if I added, let's say a color, let's say red color in here, then instead of it like slowly getting visible, it actually popped up, because there was like a layer of red wall, I think, between that, and it didn't work that time, which is why I added a background which would basically act as a background. And this has been given CSS class DM zoom reveal PG2. The thing is, what I've simply done is that I've basically scaled it a lot. So if you go into here, and then if you check this one, I've scaled it 4.5 times. So because we are working in 3D space, right? For this to work, we have to do 3D, right? So what's happening is that the image is actually far from us. So anything that is far from us looks smaller. So when I scroll, it is getting closer and closer, which is making it look like it's getting bigger, because anything that is closer to us looks bigger, and anything that is further than us looks smaller, right? And we have basically created this section in a 3D space by using this one, like transform style preserve 3D. When I did it first, it using background didn't work. So just try it once. If just delete this and then add a color in here and see if it works for your case. But if it does not, then make sure to use this as the background, and any color that you want, add it in this background, or any image that you want, add it in this background. All you simply need to do is go into your image, and if I go to advanced, you could see I've given it position absolute. And again, like the same thing that I've done, you just have to play around these values until you get something that works. If you want, you could do is you could make this be opacity 1, and you could see all those images right at the behind. Where is it? Like around here. And then you could play around with it like this. Again, it's not going to make sense, right? Where and how it's going to look. So you just need to play around with values until you figure out something that works for you. after you like check in the live page. So again, I'm making this go 0, and I've also added blur in here. So if you don't want blur, just make this 0. If you want more blur, then you could increase this value. Another thing is that what we are simply doing is we are going from minus 300 dVh, which is further than us, to very closer than us, even behind us. So as we go like this image is going behind us. So think of it as this is where you're standing, like this whole section is your eyes, and this image is just passing through behind you. That is exactly what we are done. We are basically moving it 100 dVh in the for desktop and 150 for the tablet and mobile. If in case when you do it in mobile, it is not completely going behind you because of the image you have used or some settings you have changed, then simply increase this to like 200, 250 until it works that the image is completely outside your screen. If you want it to not go outside your screen and maybe just stop around here like this, then you could just reduce this to like minus 100, minus 200 or something. It's not going to look good if you do that, but again, play around with it. Rest of it is just like stagger. Basically, it takes 0.5 seconds between each image, and then duration of 2 seconds to do all that effects. This is very volatile, I would say. Not volatile, but like very sensitive. So changing this might be you need to play around with it a lot until you get like nice effect. If you have just brought this template, you don't need to think much. Just replace these images, just duplicate this one, and just go around and make it to wherever you want it to look like, and that's all you need to do. Next is this horizontal section. It is not actually, the problem is it is not actually showing on our screen right now, which is kind of annoying. So if I go down, you could see that it is actually showing, but it's not showing in this page. It's kind of annoying. So here's a trick that I will show you. Go into this section, go into HTML, wherever you see HTML like this at the end, it is basically the code that is controlling this, and it should always be below all these elements. Okay, you can simply remove this code. So if I go and remove this code, paste it in a notepad, I'm completely removing it. You might need to do publish and then do a refresh in case it was working in your page, so that your GSAP animation resets and you get the actual value. For me, it is not being that much of an issue, but make sure to refresh your page if the animation was working in the editor. Now if I show you, this horizontal wrapper has been given 130% in size. I cannot do this. I would also suggest to like basically delete this preloader and then maybe add it later when everything is done. But you could see we have given it 130%. So if I make this 150, it would be even bigger. If I make this 200, it would be even bigger. But 130 is what I have given. And in the code, if I paste it in here, all I'm simply doing is I'm giving it position absolute. I'm doing it via code. Okay, so instead of doing it from here, position absolute, I've simply just added position absolute and moved it outside the screen 150%. So this is 130%. This is 130%. I've moved it 150% outside, so nothing is showing. Okay, if you just add 130 in here, then it would be from till here. So this point would be around here, and it might not be looking nicer because this card section is actually tilted, right? So this might be visible. So which is why I added like extra, so that we move all of this right away from us. Then if you scroll down, we have script in which I have left translate distance. Now this is where it would end after your scroll. So when you scroll, this is how much it would go towards left. You could see I have given it 130%. So for the desktop, it goes 130% towards left. For the tablet, it goes 240%. Why? If you go to the tablet, it has been given 250%. If I go to the mobile, it has been given 400%. The reason why I've given it 400% and not 200% is because mobile screens are very small, right? So if I give 200%, it would be like this much only, like around this much. Will not look good. So each one of them have been given like different width size so that it stretches like very much. and each section in here has been given, let's say 30%, 70 VH. And if I go to advanced transform, I've basically done some rotate, so it creates like nice shape. You could remove it, keep it, it's your choice. So again, all I simply do is I add 130%, so we move it left 130%, we move it 240% and 390%. If you did more, if you did 150% in here, then this would basically go completely outside. I liked how it looks where it shows a little bit around here, which is why I did 130%. Okay, so again, play around with values, how much you want it to go towards left, and you could say 240, 390. So that's little bit is visible from the left. Again, if you want to add even more, simply just duplicate one of the cards and then increase this size, because when you duplicate like this sections is going to get smaller. So you need to go into horizontal wrapper and probably increase this to 150 or 170, it's your choice, and then go in here, make sure to move it bit more. So if it's 170, you could move it like 200, and then play around with these values. So this one would probably be, I guess, 150. Just play around with it, how much it should go towards left, and yeah, that's all you need to do. And again, full control on responsiveness, so desktop, tablet and mobile. Once you have done everything, changes, you could go to the HTML and add it, and then publish, refresh and all that stuff. This one is same too, so this design and this design is same, only the inner content is different. I was practicing with this design, but I think this top one looks better and cleaner, but I still kept it because I didn't want it to get rid of it. Next is this design where you can just add a card as you scroll on top of each other. So if I scroll down, you could see this is how it looks. Again, go into your HTML, remove the code, paste it in somewhere else, and then do the changes, then add the code again. For me it is working, so let's just do it like this. Make sure to hide your HTML with tag like this, because it's not going to be visible. In case it is visible in the in the page, you could just go into advanced, responsive. I've already done this, so it has been hidden everywhere, so you can simply just hide it. You actually don't really need to worry about much in here. All you simply need to do is in your this section, this horizontal wrapper, this horizontal cards, this have been given 80%, 70 VH. In the advanced, I've just basically made it be slightly offset, so minus 150. Oh, don't worry about this, this is just a way to make it centered. This rotate is basically what controls how much rotation you want to give some like nice stacking card effect. And again, the thing is, if you check this code, it has not much complicated stuff. All you simply need to do is make sure all these containers are on top of each other. It doesn't matter what method you use, you don't really have to use the same method that I've used, or you don't really need to use the same template that I use, but as long as you use this code and your all your cards are on top of each other, it would basically just work nicely. Okay, and if you simply change this left to top, it will come from bottom. So if I go down, you could see that in here I've simply just changed the left to be top, and everything else is same. You just need to go in here and then just duplicate once more like this, basically play around with the transform, rotation, and it would just work. Okay, one issue you might be seeing is that it is actually being rotating from this side like this, you could see, instead of rotating from the center. That is because that's how I made the template. But what you could do if you want it to be from center, go into the offset and just do default so that it is like this. Go into layout and basically make this empty like this, and make sure this container has center. This would only work in Elementor. Okay, this would not work if you were trying to do from code, this method. With code you will need to do the 50-50 method, but right now you could see that this container is center of this wrapper because we set it to center. And if you go into position absolute and remove this, don't add 0, just remove it, it will be in center. Now if I go to rotate, it can now rotate from the center. So that's all you need to do. Very easy to set up, right? Next section is this section. One more thing is when you're trying to do editing or do some changes, try to do in a different page. So add this template in one page, create a new empty page, and basically copy like one section at a time and do it that way. It's like much more responsive, because when you add too much containers in Elementor, just changing a background image refreshes like every single thing, which is kind of annoying, which is why I suggest to like take one section at a time, like copy paste, and don't forget to copy the base codes at top. Okay, now for this one, which is called column tabs, this is the code, by the way. The column tabs code is in the different container. So if you copied this, make sure to copy this below. I have container for each one of them, and you could see that the first one has been given 70, then the right ones have been given 10. Okay, simply you can just click on it and change the name to anything and all, do styling and all. There's also CSS classes and all. But in this container, in like the first container, there's another container which contains this section. You could add anything in here. You could add image or any other widget, any other Elementor stuff that you want to add. This is given 85, 100% height in center, and if I go to advanced, it has been given position absolute. Basically this would allow us to do some effect without having this one taking any space. And I basically made it to be offset 15%. So this one is 70% and this one is 15%. Okay, so if I increase this, it would be like even more offsetted. 15% looks better to me. Maybe 10% might even. Nope, 10 does not look good. 15% looks better. And I think the reason is, if I go to this code, you could see that this text actually, if you click on this text and go to this DM column title, if I go to the code, DM column title has been given width of 15%, and which is why this has been given 85%. So just keep in mind that both of this should be 100. So if you increase this one to be 20, then this one should be 80. If you reduce this to 10, then this would be 90. Or if you could keep it lower if you want. Nothing wrong with that, but you will need to do some styling changes. Another thing you could check in the code is that this is the width, which is DM column tab with 10%, like this. It is the closed tab. Okay, so whenever it is closed, it is actually in 10%, and when it opens, it is turning to 70%. So if you go in here and you could check, the width is 70%. So if you increase this to 80, then when you click on something, it will open to 80% of the size. If you make this to be 100, it will make it to be 100% of the size. It is not set to grow, I think. Let me check if I've set this to grow. Okay, I have set this to grow. So if you make this to be 100, nothing's happening, right? Because the code is working. Let's see if changing that would do anything. See, if you make this to be 100, it would be like full size. If you make this to be 80, it would be like too much, because this is now pushing it everywhere else. So when you add 70 in here, this is 10, 10, 10. So 70, 80, 90, 100. So what would happen if you make this to be 80? You will need to make sure that this one is lower. Let's say if you have 5 containers, so if I add, let's say, one more container in here, let's say duplicated, nothing showing. Why? Because it is actually pushing outside this container. So if I reduce this to 60, we can kind of see this working, because now it is 60, 70, 80, 90, 100. So 60, 70, 80, 90 and 100. So just remember that you have to make sure that each one of them has enough space in here. Another thing is, when you click on something, if you click on this one, it does not show instantly. There's a reason, because this text needs to actually wrap, right? It will, if it shows up instantly, it would not look good, because the text has to actually start fitting in like this area, which is why it's a bit slower. I didn't know how to do it fast enough. The thing is, if I go in the code, this is the animation that happens. It goes from opacity 0 to opacity 1. So if you want to add, let's say, a blur effect or do something different, or if you want to decrease the time it takes for it to fade, then you could reduce this. Or if you want to increase the time it takes to fade, you could increase this, or you could add like different animation. If you want to make it go, let's say top to bottom or bottom to up or anything, you could just add it in here. Now here's one thing, if I go to the tablet, it's not actually in column wise, it is actually top to bottom instead of left to right, which is pretty normal, right? Because it would not have enough space to do left to right. So if you check in this code, what I've simply done is that anything that is below 1024 pixels in width, which is tablets and mobile, both of them would be in here. If you click on here, hover on it, it would say like tablet portrait less than 1024 and this is less than 767. So I've only done it for tablet, but it would also work for mobile because mobile is even smaller than tablet, right? So you could see I've given it height 100 pixels. So this one would have height of 100 pixels, and when you click on it, it will basically turn to 500 pixels. So depending on whether you want it to be like bigger or smaller, you could change the height, okay? And you could see it also works in mobile perfectly fine. It just turns into height. Also, one more thing, I have actually given this background color like this to kind of give this effect, but you could add anything else, okay, in here. Next is simple sticky overlappy section. This is simply just a container 100 VH. I've given it some style. It has my YouTube channel, another one where I'm practicing like 3D renders and all. So these are all my 3D renders that I'm just practicing as a hobby. And all these effects are like very basic. You could just check it on how to do this effect and all, this border and all. What I've simply done is this one in the stack start, you could see has been given DM overlap stack. The stack one is called DM overlap stack, and there's a stack end which has been called nothing. You could see CSS class nothing. So when you want to add, let's say, more stacky stuff, don't duplicate this one, duplicate this one like this. If you want to do like more stacky stuff where it like pins, so basically it pins. The last one does not need to pin because it's the last one, right? Which is why by the way, pin means like sticking, so it gets pinned right now around here. When using GSAP, we use pin to actually make it sticky, and the last one doesn't matter, which is why it has been given no CSS class. But make sure to just duplicate this much, and you could change it to your own liking. If you don't want these designs, if you don't want to use this much, just make sure to create containers which are 100 VH. I've already created a video on how to make it from scratch if you want to make from scratch. But what this simply has is 100 VH, 100% of width. That's all you simply need with the CSS class DM overlap stack. That's all you simply need for this one. And in the stack end, if I go into HTML, this is basically the code that is doing all the stuff for us. And this one is just a basic footer, nothing crazy. This is just a footer which has been given position absolute and then just made it on top like this. It is fully responsive. This is basic Elementor, so I'm not going to show this. Now let's look at the header because I almost forgot that. I'm just going to hide the base code so that we see it nicely. If you check the header, I have a left container which has one logo and two logo, first logo and second logo. The reason for that is if I change this to second logo, which is I change my second logo to this orange color, and this one is the default black color. So now when you scroll, you could see the color of it changed. It basically changed from first logo to second logo, second image slowly. You could see it basically just changed. Looks pretty cool, right? All I simply had to do was use the same logo, same size, everything should be same. No changes like the absolute and all, every value in here should be same, okay? It needs to be placed on top of each other. It doesn't matter how you do it, you just have to make sure that they are placed on top of each other. You could even make this in middle or anything, just make sure they're in top of each other. The logo one has obviously DM dynamic logo, and the logo 2 has DM dynamic logo 2. That's all you need to do, and just place it wherever you want. So one more thing is this padding that I've done. It is actually only good for the left side, but it is like very much optional how you want to use it. You could use like the default padding, you would completely remove this. Now one more thing, you don't really have to add a header color from here. It would not work because when you use some settings from background and all, then it gets harder to control with GSAP. So go into DM header, and you could see I've given a background color of transparent in here. So just make it, whatever color you want. use a hex code or anything. I've just made it to be red. The reason why we do this is it makes it easier to control with GSAP. And if I scroll down, it turned to white, and you could see. So you could use your default color in here. It will be height 100 pixels. So if you want different height, you could add it around here. We have logo size. Both of them should be same. So the height is 80 pixels for both of these logos. The first one has opacity 1 because it needs to show, and the second one is 0 because this one only needs to show when we scroll down. You could see that this is the color that it goes when we scroll. So if I scroll, it goes to white. So if you change this to a hex code or any other color, it will go to that value, and this height would be what the height would be when you scroll. This is how quick it would be. So if you want this animation to be faster, you could decrease the duration, or if you want to be it a bit slower, then you could increase this duration. Same with the logos, these two are same. The only thing is it goes to opacity 0. The first black colored one goes to 0 and the orange color comes to 1. Both of them have to have same values, okay, else it would not work. It also gets smaller it goes from what it was 80 to 50 pixels. Another thing you might have not noticed, but if I remove the header, you could see that this is still visible. Why is that? Because I've simply made it in a different container. So this hamburger icon is completely in different container. You could see, and this actually allows us to have more control on it, because then if you don't know anything that we add into this container, which is the parent container, anything inside of this would be affected by this stuff. So if I keep this in different container, nothing would be affected. If I do anything in here, it would not be affected. All I've simply done is this hamburger menu. And if you watch any other animated menu videos that I've made around 12, I think, you would know that why we do that. But if you go to advanced, you can see I've given it position fixed and made it 10 pixels and 22 pixels on top. This makes it look like it's on top, or it makes it look like it's in the same container, but it's in completely different container. And if I scroll, you could see it changes like this. So in the code, what I'm doing is I'm changing the top value to be 5. So right now the top value, so if I go to hamburger, top value is 22 around here. So because the size is different, right? But if I scroll down, it should be lower. So it is, when I scroll down, it changes to 5. So again, if you make the height to be different, then you will also need to play around the top value and all. And this is the line 8. This is basically just how I've created the hamburger icon. This basically makes it be different color. So whatever color you want, you could add it in here like this. And another thing is, if you go to hamburger icon, there's so many settings that you could change. For example, if you make this to be different color, for example, it is black right now, right? So if you change this to red, it would be red in color by default. And then we have like height, width, how much height or thickness you want. If you make this to be 5, it would be like much more thicker. And how much width you want. If you want it to be a bit smaller, then you could do 30, 40, 50. Again, it's very customizable. Just change and play around with the values in here, and it would basically just be how it would be looking. One important thing is when you click on it, it turns to white color. Again, it's not much visible, but you could see that it turns to white color like this. You could see it instantly turns to black color, but that is, we cannot actually control that, simply because there is some conflict between Elementor, GSAP and CSS kind of working together, which is why it's a bit annoying that it turns to black instantly. Even though in my another videos which are like animated menus, you would see that it does not, because I've added some delay. But for this one, I cannot do that simply because we are using GSAP. But again, you could see that it turns to white in color, and that is simply around here. So if you change this background color to be something like this one, so top and white, so that would be whatever color it is on the active side. So you could see there's like white and then white. So whatever it is, it will basically turn to that color when clicked. For the menu, it is like very simple. It's not even being visible in here. But if you actually check the menu in the editor, it's nothing. It's just 3 containers, like 1, 2, 3, and then just some text around here. So if I go into my where is my menu? Here, the full menu. Again, you could see it's in different container fully. So the first container, the second container, it's basically empty like this. And then I have the third container. You could change the size, so like 40. Again, remember it's saying it is taking minimum of whatever the value it is. So it will take, if 40% is less than 600 pixels of the screen size, then it will use 40%. But if 600 pixel is smaller than 40% of the screen size, it would use that size. It just, whichever is smaller, it would use that. Just play around with both of these values until you get something that works nicer. Just know that it will never go higher than 600 pixels, okay, because it is taking minimum of whatever the value is between both of this. When you want to do some edit for the menu, you need to go into display none and then basically remove this, and it will basically show. If you don't know how I removed this, I press Ctrl and then /. It will basically just comment it out like this, so that it would not run, but it would basically still be there. And again, you could see this is set to team, HTML tag, a link. Everything else is like very, very basic. And then DM menu title anim. And this is basically on hover, which is on hover, make it to 5 pixels of letter spacing. So if you want higher letter spacing, increase this. If you want lower, you could decrease this. If you don't want it, then remove it completely. If you want anything else to, like filter, blur 20 pixels, it will now get blurry. Okay, so any hover effect, you could add it in here. This is how much time it should take for the effect to happen. So 0.3 seconds. Rest is, if you want, you could play around with this values. So y -100, so it comes from like this one, right? So it comes from y -100 to like the default location. It takes 0.5 seconds to come from top to bottom, and it has 0.2 seconds of difference between each other. So it will have 0.2 seconds of difference between, as soon as it starts, when 0.2 seconds happen, it will start this one and then this one. Then we have DM menu title. It's simple, it's just opacity, it just fades in. And then I have something for this social anime, which is opacity like this. If you want, you could have add more stuff in here and then give it the CSS class. This one, DM menu title anim. Doesn't matter if you use any other widgets, as long as you give this CSS class, it would work. So again, even if you add like a icon, address, or any map widget or anything, just give it DM menu title anim and it would basically work. Once you have done everything, go into display none and make it be visible, or sorry, hidden. And again, it is responsive. It turns to top to bottom, like very basic design for mobile, because again, we cannot have like 3 columns in here because that's not enough space. So yeah, that's all in this template. I hope it helped, the guide helped. Again, contact me on email if you have any issues. Comment it on YouTube. I will try to help as soon as I can. And yeah, thanks for buying and watching. Goodbye.